I could feel my stomach tighten the moment the doorbell rang. Clara, my mother-in-law, always showed up early, like clockwork. It was something I used to brush off, excusing it as her eagerness to see us, but tonight was different. I wasn't in the mood for her usual antics. I exchanged a glance with Liam, my husband, who was busy setting the table, his eyes meeting mine with that same apologetic look he always gave. We both knew what was coming. "I'll get it," Liam muttered under his breath, heading for the door before I could even think of a reason to stop him. I took a deep breath and focused on chopping vegetables, the rhythmic sound of the knife against the cutting board helping to drown out the anxious thoughts in my head. I wanted tonight to go smoothly. I'd planned this dinner down to the smallest detail, but Clara had a way of turning everything upside down without even trying. "Hello, darling." Clara's voice echoed through the hall before she even made it into the kitchen. I didn't need to look up to know she'd already found something to criticize. Sure enough, as soon as she stepped into the kitchen, her eyes locked onto the knives I was using. "Oh, sweetie," she said, that patronizing tone of hers sliding under my skin like a thorn, "you're using those knives?" "I got Liam that beautiful professional chef's set last Christmas, didn't I?" "Where are they?" "They're in the drawer," I replied, forcing a smile. "But I'm comfortable using these." Clara sighed as if I had just told her I was cooking with rusty spoons. "Well, all right," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "I just thought, it'd be a shame to let such a high-quality set go unused." She turned and winked at Liam, who avoided looking at me. Typical. "And I brought my lasagna," Clara continued, her voice brightening as she lifted the covered dish she'd carried in. "I saw your menu, but I figured this might enhance things a bit." I froze for a split second. Her lasagna. The famous dish that always managed to steal the spotlight at every family dinner. She hadn't asked. She never asked. My planned meal. Rendered irrelevant. "That's thoughtful," I managed to say, though my hands had begun to tremble slightly. I set the knife down and turned toward the oven, needing to distract myself before I exploded. Liam stood by, helpless as always, like a man stuck between two tugging forces, and as much as I loved him, I hated how easily he let her bulldoze our lives. Dinner went exactly how I knew it would. Clara dominated the conversation, regaling us with stories of her past, interrupting me and Liam whenever we tried to speak. I ate in silence, nodding at the right moments, even managing a few laughs, but inside, a storm was brewing. Every condescending remark, every look that told me I was somehow doing it wrong, it all piled on top of me until I couldn't breathe. When dessert was finally done, Clara excused herself to the living room, leaving me and Liam with the dishes. I could feel the tension bubbling up in my chest, threatening to spill out with every plate I cleared. "I know what you're going to say," Liam muttered, not even looking at me as he stacked plates beside the sink. "Do you?" I replied, trying to keep my voice even, though I knew he could hear the edge in it. "Yes," he said, his voice softening, as if that could somehow smooth over the problem. "She's just trying to help. She means well." I let out a bitter laugh, my hands gripping the edge of the counter. "This is what you call helping? Undermining everything I do? Acting like this isn't our home? Like she's still in charge?" Liam sighed, running his hand through his hair in that way he always did when he was caught in the middle. "I know it's frustrating, Mira, but she's my mom. What do you want me to do? Tell her she's not welcome here?" I spun to face him, anger flaring in my chest. "I want you to stand up for me. For us. Every time she walks in here, it's like nothing we say or do matters. She just takes over, and you let her." Liam opened his mouth, probably to apologize or offer some half-hearted excuse, but before he could say anything, Clara's voice rang out from the living room. "Liam, darling, could you get me a glass of wine?" I didn't miss the way Liam's shoulders sagged, his eyes flicking toward me with that same helpless look. I felt something inside me snap. I wasn't doing this anymore. Not tonight. While Liam went to fetch the wine, I stormed into the living room, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Clara was lounging on the couch like a queen on her throne, flipping through a magazine like she hadn't just hijacked our entire evening. "Clara," I said, my voice low but steady. She looked up at me, her perfectly plucked eyebrows raised. "Yes, sweetie," she asked innocently, as if she hadn't been driving me insane all night. I took a deep breath. I wasn't going to let her twist this. Not this time. "We need to talk." She blinked, clearly surprised, but not yet rattled. "About what?" "About boundaries," I said, feeling my pulse race, but I didn't back down. "You come into our home, and you take over. You bring food without asking, you criticize everything I do, and you treat Liam and me like we're children. It needs to stop." Clara's mouth opened slightly, but for the first time, no words came out. She stared at me, her usual mask of confidence cracking. Liam walked in at that exact moment, holding the wine glass, his eyes darting between the two of us. He could feel the tension radiating off of me. "Mira," he started, but I held up a hand. "No, Liam. This needs to be said." I turned back to Clara, my voice firm. "You need to respect our home, and if you can't, then maybe you shouldn't come over as much. We love you, but this can't keep happening." Clara's face shifted, her usual air of superiority fading as she glanced between me and her son. I didn't realize you felt that way," she said quietly, her voice uncharacteristically soft. Liam stepped forward then, his voice gentle but strong. "Mom, Myra's right. We've talked about this. You can't keep coming in and taking charge. We need our own space." I watched as Clara's face faltered, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. She stood up slowly, smoothing her skirt with trembling fingers. "I see," she said, her voice small. I'll give you some space, then." Without another word, she walked to the door, leaving the wine glass untouched on the table. As the door closed behind her, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Liam turned to me, his eyes wide. "That was long overdue," I finished for him, a small smile tugging at my lips. For the first time in a long time, it felt like our home was truly ours.